The brain does a lot of stuff behind our back, as it were, or without our knowledge. And that's what yields our intelligence. And if we can really map these brain circuits and understand how information is flowing and being processed within them, that might really allow us to not only have insight into human intelligence that would allow us to build better artificial intelligences, but frankly, we might want to implement these computers using brain cells.
Now imagine if you could marry the wetware, which is the brain, if you could marry that with the existing software. The power that can be delivered from that is really exponential. It opens new doors in terms of sensory control, the integration of man and machine in that sense.
We're marrying our biology to our technology, and that opens up what we're able to.
How does that work in practice? Feeling can be transmitted essentially as a neural code. It's going to be the full sensory bandwidth.
This future version is like the Matrix, where you're able to load up some new piece of knowledge that you want and snap your fingers, and suddenly you know how to speak fluent Mandarin or fly a helicopter.
I know Kung Fu.
Every discipline of science and engineering, electronics, physics, chemistry, materials, is starting to feed into our technology for mapping the circuitry of the brain.
The idea that I'm going to digitize a brain right now still has this black box in the middle of that process.
In 2014, neurosurgeon Ali Rezai implanted a computer chip in Ian's brain at the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center. That chip is connected to wires that come from Ian's head and are hooked to this sleeve to create a neural bypass.
Hey.
Hi.
How does it get hot? What are you doing? Oh! What? Oh, that's cool.
I can feel the apparent roundness of it.
It's actually pretty precise.
That is so cool. I've never felt anything like this before.
It feels like liquid.
Oh, you can feel like each of his little legs.
Oh, it's pawing at me. Aww.
That's insane. That's cool. How does it get warm? Seriously.
That's amazing!
It's pretty neat.
Oh, that's very cool.
Wow! That's so awesome. I mean, it's magical.
Controlling the robot arm is as easy as clicking and dragging the end effector of the robot arm in virtual reality. A point cloud of possible end effector positions gives the user a clear reference of the workspace of the robot. We wanted to make something that bridged the gap between the virtual and real worlds. We decided to develop an innovative system for the programming and control of a robot arm through a virtual reality interface. The VR app can also be used to teach the robot a desired behavior. To do this, all the user has to do is click a record button, grab the robot arm end effector in virtual reality, and drag it in their desired motion trajectory. This motion path can then be played back at any time by pressing the play button. In this way, the user can intuitively teach the robot arm a desired behavior without any advanced programming knowledge.
What we've designed, and we've done this very, very quietly, but we're glad to now release it to the world, is this idea of Tesla phoresis, which is a discovery we made several years ago. The simplest way to understand it is self-assembly at a distance, just long distance assembly of materials.
Self-assembly is very big. That is, if you can get things to build themselves, just as in biology, we build ourselves.
Panasonic has developed the artificial photosynthesis system, which produces organic materials with a world-leading efficiency in terms of solar energy conversion. The recently achieved efficiency, 0.2%, is on a par with that for real plants used in biomass energy. Artificial photosynthesis is a technology that uses sunlight to produce oxygen and organic substances from water and carbon dioxide like plants do.
反応が起こったところ、今は黄色いですが、だんだん緑になっていくと思います。この部分が二酸化炭素が実際に反応し、エネルギー源が生まれている部分です。
Here's how the reaction works. First of all, the photoelectrode is filled with water and illuminated. The light is absorbed and the water molecules react, producing electrons, oxygen molecules, and hydrogen ions. The electrons move through wires to a catalyst electrode, where they react with carbon dioxide and hydrogen ions. This reduction reaction produces organic substances, mainly formic acid.
Bird wind tunnel. It's a wind tunnel in which we can study how birds fly up close so that we can learn the magic of flight and translate that into better flying robots. What's great about it is that we can vary the speed of the wind very precisely, from very close to 0 meters per second all the way to about 50 meters per second, which is very fast.
The tunnel is designed to be super low turbulence, but we also want to study how birds fly in turbulence and how we design vehicles that are more stable in turbulence. So we also have this turbulence generation system. We can actually not only control how strong the turbulence is, but where the turbulence is in the tunnel.
Ants are fascinating insects. They communicate with each other and coordinate both their actions and movements. Each ant makes its decisions autonomously, but in doing so is subordinate to the common objective, and thereby plays its part towards solving the task in hand. For the first time with the bionic ants, the behavior of ants is imitated using complex control algorithms. In this respect, it's not about a technical game for the Festo engineers, but about nothing less than the technology of the future.
I think there is no fashion statement greater than being able to change your skin. So these tattoos enables anyone to create interfaces directly on their skin.
Sweat is an interesting biofluid because it can be collected non-invasively and it has a lot of important biomarkers that relate to health and fitness and physiological status. And our goal was to develop a new kind of technology, a thin, skin-like, soft device platform that can integrate directly with the skin and capture sweat as it's released from sweat glands, route it around in very tiny microchannels that are embedded in this very thin, soft material. So this simple device allows us to measure total sweat loss, sweat rate. The colored spots actually are responsive to different targeted biomarkers, and their change in color can be quantitatively evaluated. So when I bring my phone close to the device.
Hello, I am a skin-like microfluidic device. Please scan for biomarker information.
So it launches an app, and then the phone takes a picture of the device. And from analysis of the colors of these different reservoirs that are filled with these color-responsive chemical reagents, we can determine quantitatively the glucose level, the pH, the lactate concentration, the chloride concentration, as well as the total sweat loss.
Organovore was founded to develop the 3D bioprinting technology that Gabor Forgacs discovered at the University of Missouri. The company creates functional living human tissue. We use a three-dimensional bioprinting technology to take cells, living human cells, and place them into a 3D matrix that then can grow into tissue. Organovo's technology often sounds unbelievable to many people. The cells have the internal programming to help create the final tissue. We simply layer the tissues in the right positions architecturally. The cells then execute on their native programming to finish the job.
There are really no limits to the kinds of things that you can approach with the technology. You just need inputs, and inputs for us are simply cells. It gives us an advantage because we can build things outside of the body that truly reproduce the architecture and the composition of a tissue as it sits inside the body.
We have the ability to make structures and tissues using cells alone. When you can do that and create something without any foreign materials like polymers present, you have the ability to get a better representation of true human biology.
We can make any tissue and any disease model, and that's what gives the tremendous predictive power, is the ability to make both the diseased tissue and the normal tissue and be able to compare the two.
We can reconstruct eyes from just a handful of photos, allowing our method to be coupled with off-the-shelf face scanners, as we see here, or even reconstruct eyes from single images. To achieve this, we introduce a new parametric model of an eye built from a database of high-resolution 3D scans that include both shape and texture. The first component of our model is the eyeball model, which represents the low-frequency variation in eyeball shape. Here we show the major modes of variation. Our model also contains an iris synthesis component, which first builds a parametric control map from the sparse input image data and performs patch-based texture and geometry synthesis given exemplars from the database. The synthesized high-resolution iris texture is blended with the control map to generate the final combined texture. Here we see the result for a second iris of a different color with different structures. The iris geometry is also synthesized at the same time as color and geometric structure are coupled. Since the database contains irises under different dilation states, we can also synthesize realistic iris deformation, all from the low-resolution iris control map. We can also visualize the pupil dilation in high quality, where the iris deformation greatly increases the realism of the captured eye, especially at twice the speed. We can visualize the iris details in high quality by changing the illumination and observing the shading. The last component of our parametric model is a sclera vein model. Here, we are able to synthesize realistic vein networks, and we introduce intuitive parameters that can control the appearance of veins, including the thickness and the depth. Here we see the artistically controlled parameters on a rendered eye. Here we see the result of our eye capture method for one eye. We demonstrate two applications of fitting our model to real images. The first is a multi-view fitting approach, which can be seamlessly incorporated into a traditional face scanner. Here are several results from the multi-view fitting. Notice that our method is able to accurately reconstruct dichromatic irises using different exemplars from the database. Our method is able to capture a variety of different eyes varying in color and shape. Here we show an example of single image fitting. In this case, we have less data constraints, and so the algorithm trusts the parametric model more. Finally, we show how robust the fitting technique is by fitting an eye to single images of paintings. And also a single image of a bird.
cabin all morning, so let's motor over to the driving range and hit a few virtual balls into space.
Nah, we did that yesterday. I don't want to do that.
Well, then what do you want to do?
I don't know. Something.
Hi, my name is Sugi, the CEO and co-founder at Will. So Will is a Silicon Valley-based startup company. So what unique about a product is 24 small rollers make it very titanic radius for inside use. And also, this is 4-wheel drive. It covers snow, gravel, any terrain you go. So we actually both titanic radius for inside use and a good ground covering ability for outside use.
You can have autonomous driving. We take in all kinds of inputs. So we can take in GPS, LiDAR, sonar, radar, dead reckoning, inertial motion sensors, all of those things. In addition, we also have a sensor. That sensor is using ultra-wideband radio. It works indoors, it works outdoors, it works in the snow, it works in the rain, it works in the fog.
This is called Kissenger. All you have to do is to kiss that pad, which will cause the kissing pressure pattern to be recorded so that the person receiving the kiss can place the pad on the cheek, or lips, on the other side and can feel the same pressure transmitted through small activators that reproduce that pattern. The Kissenger is intended not only for human beings, but as a possible way to explore the man-machine relationships of the future.
We present a novel real-time facial reenactment method that works with any commodity webcam. Since our method only uses RGB data for both the source and target actor, we are able to manipulate YouTube videos in real time. Here we demonstrate our method in a live setup. On the right, a source actor is captured with a standard webcam. This input drives the animation of the face in the video shown on the monitor to the left. A significant difference to previous methods is the re-rendering of the mouth interior. To this end, we resynthesize the mouth interior of the target actor using video footage from the training sequence based on temporal and photometric similarity. As we can see, we are able to generate a realistic and convincing reenactment result. Here we show a close-up of the footage from the previous live reenactment. The input video stream is shown on the left. note that the target actor is re-rendered in a neutral pose. On the right, we can see the final output of our method. Our system reconstructs and tracks both source and target actors using a dense photometric energy minimization. Using a novel subspace deformation transfer technique, we transfer the expressions from the source to the target actor. This allows us to obtain a modified face template of the target actor according to the expressions of the source actor. We now re-render the modified face on top of the target sequence in order to replace the original facial expressions. Here we show additional live sequences where we reenact various YouTube videos. In order to evaluate our approach, we perform a cross-validation based on optical flow. To this end, we retrieve mouth interiors from the first half of the video. The second half is used for evaluation queries. As we can see, our re-rendering error is very low. Our method introduces a new RGB face tracking pipeline, which we compare against state-of-the-art real-time face tracking methods. Here we show a comparison against Kao et al. And Tees et al. Note that Tees et al. Is based on RGBD data, whereas Kao et al. And our method require only RGB input. Here we show another tracking comparison to FaceShift 2014, which relies on RGBD data. Although our method is RGB only, we achieve similar tracking quality. In contrast to real-time tracking methods, we also compare against the offline tracking algorithm of Shi et al. Note that Shi et al. Perform additional geometric refinement using shading cues. We now compare our approach against previous reenactment approaches. Here we show the scenario of a translator animating another person. Note that our approach runs in real time while Garrido et al. Works offline. Here we show a comparison to Tees et al. Who rely on RGBD data. Both methods produce similar reenactment results.
Right now, if a human worker does $50,000 worth of work in a factory, that income is taxed. If a robot comes in to do the same thing, you'd think that we'd tax the robot at a similar level,